Well, most certainly that issue isn't going away, just easily like that. And of course, Honorable Yusuf Gagdi, who spoke in that comment, in that report that you saw, we invited him hoping that he'd be able to at least give us a better understanding of what he meant when he said Nigerians should have reported him to the National Assembly and the DSS. And if what we have heard about the process of getting someone into office is anything to go by, the kind of background check that the DSS does before anyone is as much as nominated, much less appointed, I don't know where we left off.
Oh, yes. And speaking of the presidency, I mean, the presidency has since responded to that controversy. Just yesterday, we had the senior special assistant to the president, Mr. Garabashew, speaking about it, saying that the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, is currently subject to what he calls a cancel campaign instigated by those who seek his removal. It goes on to say they do not really care that what he may or may not have said some 20 years ago, that is merely, goes on to say that is merely the instrument they are using to attempt to cancel him. But they will profit should he be stopped from making decisions that improve the lives of everyday Nigerians. Ends by saying that the administration stands behind Minister Pantami and all Nigerian citizens to ensure they receive fair treatment, fair prices, and fair protection in ICT services. So that gives you a sense of what the presidency is thinking at this point, saying, well, we stand behind him and, well, that's the position right now. But a lot has happened, and just in case you have missed this, let's walk you through really what has led to this point, because I think most of it happened on social media, and clearly not everybody sees that as a place of abode. Maybe you drop in once in a while. So let's just walk you through. This started, well, it was April the 11th. First, there was a Daily Independent report, and that followed a retraction. It was followed by a retraction, which you see there by Newswire, and of course, Independent also retracted the story, which of course spoke about the minister being on a certain terror watch list for alleged ties with Boko Haram. So that's the retraction you see from Newswire, and the minister responded, interestingly, on April the 12th, saying that the reaction, or rather the retraction through independent investigation has been noted. But he spoke about, lawyers having to, meet with the news agencies and all that. So that was the response of the minister at that point. And things seem to have died down to a certain extent.
And
but then
the Daily Independent also retracted.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
The very, very next day. Saying, the disquiet and everything. Attention has been drawn to the story with the above title published on Sunday, Independent newspaper of April 11th, and of course that's the retraction as well. That is that one, and of course you still also have that investigative piece of April 15, unmasking a jihadi masquerade, and of course this gentleman, David Funde, was a guest on Politics Today, and he reiterates a lot more of the same thing he has said in that one.
Yes, so this was now the new dimension to this whole story entirely, and that got the minister to now apologize after this investigative piece by David, saying that some of the comments that he made some years ago that are generating controversies now were based on his understanding of religious issues at the time. And he has changed several positions taken in the past based on new evidence and maturity. So that was on April the 17th, on Saturday at a mosque. And that was an apology, which was quite different from the position he had earlier on that got the, dailies to retract.
And then the battle seemingly went to the social media.
Oh, yes.
And a number of people have pretty much pitted camps.
Oh, yes.
There's the Pantami Resign Now camp, and then there's the Pantami Will Stay camp. And these are some of them.
So this is the first one. This one is the Pantami Resign Now camp, saying that age has everything to do with radicalism. We've seen old and young turn suicide bombers. Pantami saying that he was young when he held those terroristic ideologies. Is it no excuse at all? And of course, you see that hashtag Pantami Resign Now.
And Onyedika also says, Kemi Adeosun resigned over forgery. Stella Odua resigned over corruption allegations. Everyone condemned them, and none asked for forgiveness to continue as minister. Pantami's case wouldn't be different. A supporter of Taliban and Al-Qaeda, and that hashtag again, Pantami resign now.
So another person that pitched his tent with the Pantami resign now camp is this one, Ayo Shoguro, saying that now that Issa Pantami has renounced his extremist ideology, he should do the right thing and resign from office. If he truly wants to make up for his past, he should continue the work of engaging and radicalizing young jihadists, not handle national affairs.
Well, the perspective of Festus Ogun in this one is interesting. He quotes a law. Pantami risks life or 20 years of imprisonment, or both, for supporting and aiding terrorism by virtue of Sections 5 and 18 of the Terrorism Prevention and Amendment Act of 2013. So, apart from resignation, Nigerians should demand for his prosecution. But this is Nigeria. Pantami resign now.
So,
then we flip sides.
Oh, yes. So those are 4 tweets from the Pantami resign now camp. But, of course, you had the Pantami will stay camp as well. So take a look at this one from Yasir Arafat saying that the northern phenomenon Issa Pantami giving online and offline terrorists a sleepless night, ensuring a comprehensive database through NIN, securing the nation, and placing it strategically for digital economy advancement, tested and trusted, an achiever, he says.
Arewa tweeter says, people saying Pantami resign are very funny, to be honest. They have forgotten that ICT removed Nigeria from recession single-handedly under the watch of Issa Ali Pantami. Best minister in history.
And there's more. Serki says Sheikh Pantami has been the subject of attack from the media and Twitter page trolls since he was given an appointment by President Buhari. He goes on to say, stay strong, you'll come out stronger. Pantami will stay and people will celebrate your success.
And Haji Shehu says, only terrorists want Dr. Issa Pantami to resign because he wants to block their easy access to communication. Calling for his resignation will not work. No room for terrorism in the communications sector. Hurry up and link your SIM with NIN before the deadline. That's the deadline, I guess. Pantami will stay.
Interestingly, the People's Democratic Party also waded in on this one and said that the party asked the DSS to invite the minister for questioning and asked the president to sack the minister. And, I mean, this went on and on. And till we got that response from the presidency just yesterday, it's a lot, really, but we have tried to at least give you a sense of what has played out. Clearly, there's so much angles to this, but at least to bring you up to speed, as they say, with these issues. But we're joined this morning by a legal practitioner just to get a sense of what the law has to say in this matter, because so much has been said. And Mr. Malaki Ugumadu joins us this morning virtually. He is a legal practitioner, immediate past National President, Committee for Defense of Human Rights. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Sunrise Daily. I'm sure you've been following this from the scratch. So let me begin by asking you, first, your thoughts.
Well, my thoughts are that here we are again as a nation, conflicted between desire to just carry on or make fundamental changes in a way that restores our dignity and secures our nation as a safe political environment. There are many angles to this whole issue, and I believe that if we have enough time, perhaps we'll be able to, put them in the right perspective. But permit me to say straight away,
Okay, we'll work on getting Mr. Ugumadu back. Do we have you back?
yes.
Okay,
Sorry
we'll
about
definitely.
that.
Okay, please go on then.
Pantami, the Minister for Communication and Technology, looks to me as one of the young or youngest, if not mistaken, members of the Buhari Executive Council. And the fact that these allegations and challenges around him now poses an additional question on the viability of youth engagement in leadership and politics in contemporary Nigeria. Now, the argument has oscillated between
playing a tricky one on us, but we'll keep working to get Mr. Malaki back just to get the legal perspective to this.
I have no control over what is happening now.
It's okay. We understand. Please go on.
If I can continue. Yeah. The argument has oscillated from, I didn't make this statement on the basis of which the media house, Daily Independent, retracted the statement. So, no, sorry, I didn't mean what I said, or I apologize for what I said, on the basis of which the present investigative write-up, particularly from one Mr. David, ensued. The angle to it is first to be humble about the situation. Humble in the sense that our nation, our country has
Okay, looks like one of those days where you have to literally battle the connection just to get the guests back. It looks like one of those days, but we'll keep working at it. We'll keep ensuring that we get Mr. Malaki to speak on this. Don't forget, we did invite Honorable Yusuf Gagdi, which you heard speaking earlier on about the DSS or the National Assembly missing that, and asking questions about Nigerians as well, saying, well, Nigerians should have also written to the National Assembly saying that, well, we noticed this and this. That as well generated a lot of controversy, which is why we invited him to give some more context to that, because, people thought, that's why we have the National Assembly and the DSS.
Well, if we all had to do that work, then perhaps we don't need elections. We don't need to, we could all do the job ourselves. That's the thought in the heads, that would be the thought in the heads of so many people. If you were recruited to do a job and you're asking me, I should have done the job that I recruited you to do. Exactly where is this supposed to go? But
let me play, I wouldn't say the devil's advocate here, but let me just flip side. We call it a democracy. People should be involved in government. So yes. I'll just,
Our first leg of involvement, Kyle, let me butt in right there, is to recruit people to do certain jobs.
But you shouldn't go to sleep after that, right?
No, we don't go to sleep, but we don't expect, we should sleep longer than some people. That's why they are there, And, electioneering hasn't ended simply because, we recruited some people. The reason why people do what they do is so that they can take care of other things. For instance, why do you recruit a messenger or a cook or whatever? These things you're supposed to be able to do yourself. But because you are busy doing other things, you engage some people to do some things for you. That is why the National Assembly is there. And gratifyingly, actually, we hope that we'll be able to have him, but then, unfortunately, he's unable to make it. However, the legal angle to this conversation is very, very important. In what ways would we say that the gentleman has breached any law, any official constitutional provision? Someone has already talked about the Pantami angle, the Anti-Terrorism Act and all of that. So I guess we have Mr. Malaki Ogumadu back. So, Wells, could you go ahead and conclude your thoughts on the first leg of this conversation?
Well, I was already in two minds whether there's any situation affecting me, since we are discussing communication and telecommunication. I have no control over those happenings. I apologize. The point I was making is that we have moved forth and back from, I didn't say this, on the basis of which a retraction was made. So, wait a minute. I apologize. I was only a young man when those statements credited to me were made. And I'm better off now in terms of age. I'm more advanced now. I'm more mature. And I see the mistakes that have been made. So for me, we need to take the letter position, which is an apology. An apology presupposes that one, that statement was made, and two, that the author of that statement, or the person to whom that statement was credited, realizes the mistake that was made and therefore apologized for that. If that is the situation, we must therefore narrow the scope of the discussion beyond the wide, very elaborate positions taken by people whom I think are mere prophets. Because as it is, we haven't seen this man come out either on the national television or a written position to state precisely what the issue is, other than the apology that he tendered. Now, why do I say it has to be narrowed? It has to be narrowed because the minister to whom this statement was credited has, to a large extent, accepted that he made those statements. Now, are those statements capable of inflaming or aggravating the state of our security in the country? Yes, they are. Yes, they are capable. As a matter of fact, and that is where Kayode started, the law under the Cybercrime Prohibition and Prevention Act 2015 prohibits expressly statements such as this, particularly if it has the potential or capacity of annoying, causing danger, inconvenience, insult, injury, or criminal intimidation, particularly or hatred. You recall that this statement had words like infidels, describing people who have no similar religious beliefs as infidels and so on and so forth. The law is clear about that and prohibits this under Section 24 of the Cybercrime Prohibition Prevention Act 2015. It is no less an offense under the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act of 2013, which was earlier promulgated in 2011. So, for a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to be associated with these kind of inflammable and highly inciting words, and I understand that the position of FEC, as communicated yesterday by the Minister of Information, it also, and as well as the media aid to the president, have not helped the matter at all. In the sense that, on the one hand, the person who has been credited with this statement has apologized. You have come out right from the meeting of the Federal Executive Council to trivialize the enormity of what has happened and over which the person has apologized in a way that further infuriates the people of this country who are now the victims. Now, let's face it bluntly. It is that this situation that we are quarreling about has direct nexus with the security situation in the country.
Well, Mr. Malaki, I mean, that's a very vital point you make. But recall that after FEC, the Minister for Information was asked if that case was discussed, and he said it wasn't discussed at all. I think the Minister attended virtually. That's the Minister for Communications and Digital Economy. It was after that, that was yesterday on Thursday, that the President's aide, Mr. Garba Shehu, now released a statement saying that the presidency is behind Mr. Pantami through all of this, and it was a vote of confidence, as it were. But when you spoke about that provision in the Terrorism Act, can that provision or that part be enforced retrospectively? Because, I mean, it said that those statements were made at least 10, 15 or more years ago. Can that be enforced retrospectively?
Kayode, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Correct. If we find today credible evidence of who murdered, who killed Belegiwa, the prosecution will start. The beauty about criminal justice system, the administration of criminal justice, is that there are no time bounds against the commission of any offense.
Let it be clear, Mr. Gumadu, just a moment. The Anti-Terrorism Act was from 2013. Yes. What the minister said said some 20 or more years ago. So one is older than the other. I think that's the point Kaude is making here. So can a law that was just recently promulgated be held against an offense committed much longer than before the law came?
Thank you. Thank you for entering that caveat, because I was responding precisely to what Kennedy posed as a question. Now, if it is from your own point of view, as I understand it now, there is a very clear legal position to that. You cannot prosecute any person in Nigeria for an offense that does not constitute a crime as at the time that act was committed. I'm referencing the fundamental rights provision of Section 36, not Section 12.
Okay.
So you have a valid point there.
Okay. Now, what do you say? What do you say then to those who are saying, the PDP, for instance, which is saying that DSS ought to invite the Honorable Minister for some questions based on these allegations? What do you make of it?
Well, I'm not going to toe the line of PDP, essentially because I know what their roles are in this country and when they take position. But please, on this particular matter, I have also heard you in your remarks say that I think they were echoing what the honorable member of the House said, that no person ever remembered that while this man was being screened, you know, as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You see, we must find a way of exiting all of these games in a way that enables us approach some form of solution to the problems that we have. I say this because this whole style or pattern of shifting the blame to the Nigerian people who are the victims of the failure of leadership in this country must end. Okay. You have a minister whose statements have been regretted and apology tendered, and you're saying, why was there no Nigerian who raised this point? What was the responsibility of the Senate at that material time? What about the State Department of State Security that ought to conduct serious background checks on all of these people to be able to highlight these aspects of these gentlemen who are put forward for their appointment? You know, there are insecurity killings everywhere, and some governors, as they come, you go get whatever you need, defend yourself. Why do we have the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Why do we have the law enforcement agencies? Why do we pay our tax to be protected by the Nigerian state? If, in the event of such serious situations, we will all be asked to go solve our problems. Like you rightly put, why did we even have the election? Okay. Representative democracy envisages that leadership should be entrusted in the hands of representatives on behalf of every person who have elected those people to go and serve.
All right. Well, Mr. Ogumadu, we have to thank you very much for your perspectives this morning. Most certainly something to celebrate. Malaki Ogumadu is a legal practitioner as well as immediate past national president of Committee for the Defense of Human Rights. Once again, thank you very much for your time.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.